Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how you doing out there? My name is Tiberious, aka Mr. T, and today we are going to take a look at the EOTECH EXPS 3. Let's go. Three quick things before we get started. One, big thanks to my brother Anthony from Ocean State Armory. He let us borrow this optic for the review. Number two, I'm only going to go over the specific features of this holographic sight. I'm not going to compare a holographic sight to a traditional red dot. I will do a video coming up very soon where I'll compare those two. Third, let's talk about the SOCOM and the U.S. military real quick. Yes, EOTECH did get sued by the U.S. military. Yes, they did settle for millions and millions of dollars. Yes, it was mostly over thermal drift, thermal shift. All optics do have thermal shift. The older version of these EOTECHs were pretty bad, I guess. It was something around, if I remember correctly, sighting it at 0 degrees and shooting it at 120 degrees. It had like a 3 to 5 MOA shift or something along those lines. But with all that said, when the military did testing again to figure out what their new optic was going to be, they went back to an EOTECH optic. Obviously it was the newer version, but regardless, they had confidence in it after the testing to go back to an EOTECH. Now these have been out for a few years and they've been nothing but bulletproof. So if you're considering getting one, I wouldn't worry the least about thermal shift or durability with an EOTECH. Anyway, let's dive up close. I'm going to go over some of the specific features of this EOTECH Holographic Weapon Sight. So with EOTECH's new sights, they make two different versions. They make an XPS and an EXPS, and that E stands for extreme. The real difference is going to be where the controls are. On the E series that you see here, the controls are on the side. On the X, you have the controls on the front of the optic. So if you're thinking about running a magnifier, I wouldn't get the XPS because when your magnifier is flipped, it's going to block the controls. Another difference is going to be this mount. The EXPS series comes with this quick detach mount and it's done very, very nicely. It has a lock so it doesn't open accidentally. It is a lower 1/3 co-witness quick detach mount and it seems pretty good, so I wouldn't worry about it. As far as night vision compatible, after the EXPS or the XPS, if there's a number 3 like this one here, that means it is night vision compatible. If there's a number 2, that means it is not night vision compatible. All your settings up and down are right here. It has 20 daytime settings plus an additional 10 night vision settings. And the one thing I will say, I have played around with EOTECH's under nods compared to other red dots, and they just seem to be brighter, clearer, easier to pick up. I know most people use visible lasers to shoot, or IR lasers, excuse me, but the EOTECH was just so easy to pick up if you choose to shoot through an optic while you're using night vision. Moving over to your battery compartment here, it takes one CR123. The older style EOTECHs took a couple AA batteries and they had some problems with recoil. This one here is a 600-hour battery life if you're using setting 12. And I know that's not a huge battery life, but that's a sacrifice you make when you go to a holographic sight. Holographic sights have a lot more going on than red dots, and you're not, anytime soon anyway, you're not going to see a holographic sight that has a 5 or a 10-year battery life. It just doesn't work that way, unfortunately. As far as your waterproofing, it's waterproof down to 33 feet. Which of course we will test. The windage and elevation on the side here is recessed, so nothing should hit it, bump it, break it. It is super tactile, so there's really no question when you make an adjustment on your elevation or your windage if you've done it or not. And then each click is a half MOA adjustment per click. If you see here, there is a protective hood going around the sight as well. You see the little space in there. That really helps durability in case the optic gets bumped or hit or something happens to it. The two big advantages of EOTECH specifically is going to be how parallax free they are and the huge field of view. As far as the field of view, the window is like 30% bigger than a traditional tube red dot, and that really helps with situational awareness and seeing downrange. At least a lot of people think it helps them. It's really, again, personal preference. I don't mind the tube style. but that huge field of view is nice for seeing downrange. As far as being parallax free, EOTECH is definitely one of the sights that have the least amount, if none, as far as parallax. Green Eye Tactical did an excellent study several years ago, and I'll put a link down below if you want to check it out. And they tested the parallax on a bunch of different sights, and no question the EOTECH was by far the best. So if you're doing any dynamic shooting while moving, or anything like that where you may not have that dot lined up or the reticle lined up perfectly, you may want to consider an EOTECH, because you should be able to get hits on target even if you're not lined up perfectly underneath that dot. So with this particular optic, you get 3 different choices of reticles. You can either do the traditional 68 MOA circle with the 1 MOA dot in the middle, or you can get 2 1 MOA dots, or you can get 4 1 MOA dots. So if you want a bullet drop compensator to shoot out a little bit further, that's what those 2 reticles are for. Other thing to keep in mind with a holographic sight compared to a traditional red dot, if you choose to use a magnifier, the dot does not get any bigger with a holographic sight. Traditional red dots, you have a 2 MOA dot without a magnifier, you flip the magnifier over, now you're up to a 6 MOA dot. This will stay a 1 MOA dot no matter what. And now that EOTECH came out with a 5 times magnifier, you can kind of have a variable 1 to 5 type optic. So just more options for you. Moving over to the controls on this side of the sight, if you press and hold both the up and down for a few seconds, it will turn off. If you hold the up arrow for a few seconds to turn it back on, it will stay on for 8 hours. When you're turning it on, if you hold the down arrow, it's going to stay on for 4 hours. Now, if you hit those buttons at any time while the optic's on, that time starts over the 4 or 8 hours. When you turn the optic on, if the reticle blinks, that means you only have between 2 to 5 hours of battery life left, and you may want to replace your battery. And then obviously the NV button that you see here is your night vision button. You click that to turn night vision on or off, and night vision stays on for 8 hours. The mount that we mentioned earlier, like I said, it's very, very nicely done. This right here is the lock and how you release the quick detach lever. So we'll depress that and the quick detach lever opens. On this side there is a screw to make sure it gets tightened down very well. Obviously not all rails are mil spec like they're supposed to. So the way you install it, you put it on the rail and you push it forward. Go to close the quick detach lever. If it's loose at all, open the quick detach lever, tighten down the screw a little bit, put it back on the rail, slide it forward, and then close the quick detach lever. What you don't want to do is close it on the rail and then tighten up the screw. EOTECH does not recommend that, and you can mess up the mount and possibly the rail as well. Obviously EOTECH doesn't make the smallest and lightest sights out there. It's clear, it's obvious, you can see how big this guy is. What you lose in size, you gain in field of view, like we mentioned earlier, and how quick you can pick up targets and how quick you can transition from target to target. Most people will find the holographic sights much easier to pick up and transition than a traditional red dot. It looks to me like, I don't know, it looks like they're projecting the reticle out on the target, and if you're shooting with both eyes open like you're supposed to and you're looking at the target, something about it is just very, very easy for my eyes to pick up, and it seems extremely fast. Let's go hit the range, we'll do some shooting and see what we can do with this sight.
Play that funky fresh beat I like. Missing today, huh? Let's do a few first shot drills and some transition drills and see if these EOTECHs are as quick as I remember. Alright, see if we can hit the small one. Shit, I can barely see it. Not that time. There we go.
We took this EOTECH optic to the range a total of 3 times, and I shot it on 3 different rifles, including a 223, a AR-57, and then a SIG MPX 9mm, and no issues with any of them. Mostly I put them on those rifles because of the quick detach lever. It was just so easy to swap them. That's the main reason I did it. But it was good to go. Now, besides that, I used to own an XPS2, and years ago I owned a 500 series. I forget the model. So I've shot EOTECHs quite a bit, and I'm fairly familiar with them. The biggest advantages is going to be the huge field of view. The window is enormous. That in combination with the Donut of Death reticle, it makes it very, very quick and easy. One of the best quick access sights out there. Not only quick access on your first shot, but also on transitions and follow-up shots. I find them very, very easy to pick up the reticle. And at the same time, you still have the one MOA dot in the middle if you need to get hits out a little bit further. As far as cons, the only con is going to be the battery life. And not just with EOTECH, this is with all holographic sights. The way they are designed, you are not going to get a 5 or a 10-year battery life like you will out of some of the red dots. So for that reason alone, I won't put one of these on my home defense rifle. I am terrible for remembering to turn off my optic. Plus, on my home defense rifle, I want my optic always on, ready to go. The last thing I want to worry about is grab my rifle, figure out the settings. No, I want it ready to go. So I'll keep the Aimpoint Pro on there, but there would be nothing wrong with using EOTECH as your range rifle, as your home defense rifle, or anything else. They are very, very good optics. Anyway, as always, thank you very, very much for watching my review. It is truly, truly appreciated. If you could do me those 2 favors, please. 1, click the like button. Really, really helps us out. 2, go ahead and click subscribe. This way you get notified when we come out with new videos. I'll see you all next time.
Peace!